Hello, Namaskar, Vanakkam. Welcome to part 2 video of the Age of Reorganization. I hope you've already seen part 1 of this particular chapter. It's a longish chapter, so I thought it's best that we do it in 2 parts. Okay, so this is chapter number 6? Yeah, 6 of your social science textbook for class 7. And as I said last time also, just a reminder, if you are looking to buy the question bank, my only effort is to ensure that if you are planning to buy, you should buy the best question bank. Otherwise, there is a lot which is being given free of cost in these explanation videos here on this channel. I will also be giving you test papers chapter wise, right? So that's taken care of. So if you do not want anything else, do not buy any question bank. But if you are looking for notes, right? If you don't want to take down any notes and you're looking for notes, if you're looking for mind maps, which trust me are very useful for revision, if you are looking for all the answers to the questions of your NCERT textbook, if you are looking for additional question and answers, and if you are looking for full practice papers before your final examination, then this is the book you should look at. This is the social science text question bank from Oswald books. Similarly, you have for science, English, mathematics, Sanskrit, and Hindi as well, as is shown on the screen. So you could look at this. Where do you buy this? You go to either Amazon, and I will give you the link, specific link, which will directly take you to the page on Amazon. It is there in the description box. You also could go to oswaldbooks.com, where if you put the Sudhir 10 discount coupon code, you get an additional discount and you can save some money for your dear parents. Okay, that was the information note which I want to put out for you for your benefit. Now let's look at the part 2 of this particular chapter. We saw the 3 kingdoms, dynasties emerging after the fall of the Maurya Empire. Now let's look at the 4th major kingdom and dynasty, which happened in the southern part of India, which is largely modern day Tamil Nadu. Okay, so the kingdoms and life in the south, which is usually also referred to as the Sangam age. Okay, it is referred to as the Sangam age, and this period in southern India was between the 2nd or 3rd century before Common Era and the 3rd century CE, and it saw the rise of 3 powerful kingdoms. This is very important. You are absolutely sure to get questions from the Sangam age, from the Chola dynasty, etc., the southern, the ones which ruled in the southern part of India. If you look at the test paper, there are so many students who are telling me about the number of questions which came from the test paper that I had put out. Somebody said 9 questions, somebody said 7 questions, somebody said 12 questions, right? So there are that many questions which came directly from the test paper that I gave. So please ensure that you definitely look at solving my test papers also, because there's a lot of thought which goes into preparing those test papers. Now, which were the key kingdoms that we need to look at? The first key kingdom was the Cheras, Cholas, and Pandyas. Among these, the Cholas are the most important. I don't know if there are any students from Tamil Nadu here, Tamil or Telugu. Ponniyin Selvan paathiringala. So adla vandittu Mani Ratnam actually showed the story of the Chola Empire, right? So Ponniyin Selvan part 1 and part 2, you could probably look at if you are interested, right? Idoru COVID time la vandadu. Okay. Rose to prominence, often competing for control while contributing to trade and culture. So these 3 kingdoms were the big kingdoms in the southern part of India. Now, these southern kingdoms remained independent even when the Mauryas, Chandragupta Maurya and King Ashoka were ruling. Even then, these kingdoms remained independent. The Mauryas could not control or conquer them. So that's what makes them extremely significant. Look at the map of the domination in the previous chapter, the Age of Empires. Under the Maurya Empire, you will find that the southern part is not under the Maurya Empire. Now, let's understand about Sangam literature. Now, Sangam literature, as I said, the Sangam age, this period saw many poets coming into the forefront, which means that, a lot of emphasis on literature and art, and their literature, whatever they wrote, is known as Sangam literature. Extremely significant, which is why it is the entire era is also known as the Sangam age. So if you get a question as to why is it referred to as a Sangam age, This point is what you need to write in your answer. Now, where does the word Sangam come from initially? Now, it comes from the Sanskrit word called Sangha, which means association. Sang, hum sang bana rahe hain. In Hindi they say, hum sang bana rahe hain. Like for instance, you have the RSS full form, Rashtriya Swayam Sevak Sangh. Sangh means essentially a group coming together of different people, right? In this case, you're talking about the coming together of many poets, and therefore they wrote the literature, and that's what is referred to as the Sangam literature. I hope this is clear. It is the oldest literature in South India, and even in India, it is considered among the oldest, and it consists of a collection of several poems. And usually, whenever you need to get any reference of anything related to what happened under the Chola dynasty or the Cheras dynasty, etc., you generally refer to this Sangam literature because there would be a reference by some poet about some aspect of the Chola dynasty or the Chera dynasty, right? So that is something which was done quite often there. Sangam poetry, what kind of poetry it was? It was about love. It was about values of heroism and generosity. So these were the kind of things which were mentioned in the Sangam poetry. Okay. What about the Cholas? Let's look at the Cholas first. And before that, I want to show you this particular illustration, which gives you an idea. The Cholas, if you go to a place called Tanjavur in Tamil Nadu, you will find magnificent temples which were built by the Cholas, right? Then they focused a lot on maritime trade, that is the sea routes, the trade routes, right? They focused a lot on wars. They had very powerful armies, because of which they were able to even be in independent control even when the Maurya Empire was ruling over the rest of India, right? So in that sense, this particular illustration gives you a sense of how powerful the Chola kingdom really was. Now, when did they rule? They ruled from 3rd century BCE to the 13th century BCE, extended from the southern part of Andhra till Nagapattinam. Okay, Nagapattinam is in central Tamil Nadu towards the coast. Trichy, okay, Tiruchirappalli, which is the long form of Trichy, Tanjavur, which I just now mentioned. These are like very important centers of the Chola kingdom. Now, King Karikala, he has said to have defeated a combined force of the Pandyas and the Cheras, and he established his supremacy. What was the kind of literature? Silappadi Karam. Okay, Silappadi Karam. It means the tail of the anklet. Anklet means gungru in Hindi, right? Silappadi Karam. I hope I'm pronouncing it right? I should have asked my wife about it. Composed soon after the Sangam collections, tells us a story of Kannagi. Now, the story of Kannagi is extremely important, and I would want you to hear about it. Those of you who are from Chennai, now you see the Chola kingdom. Now, even within Tamil Nadu, the top portion, that is today's Chennai, going up to Tanjavur, was the Chola kingdom, right? Subsequently, the Pandyas were in the southern part of Tamil Nadu, and the Cheras were on the western part of Tamil Nadu and going into Kerala. So this is how the three kingdoms had modern day Tamil Nadu and modern day Kerala kind of distributed. So please have a look at this map, because this map is extremely significant. Okay, now we have studied all this. I want to tell about the tail of the anklet, Silappadi Karam. This famous, now Kannagi, if any of you is from Chennai, if you go to Marina Beach, you would find this particular statue of Kannagi out there. What is she holding? She is holding the anklet, right? And her hair is open. What is the story of Kannagi? It's an extremely important and a very, very, it's a story of courage and devotion. It's a story of Kannagi, who lived with her husband, whose name was Kovalan, in Puhar, okay, which was basically Kaveri Patnam. Okay, she lived there. However, Kovalan fell in love with a dancer. Kovalan fell in love with a dancer, and eventually he lost all his wealth over her. Okay, so he went astray. Then realized his mistake and he came back to Kannagi, his wife. Then they traveled to Madurai. Madurai is the cultural capital of Tamil Nadu. In Tamil Nadu, let me just tell you a bit about Tamil Nadu. Chennai is the actual capital, the administrative capital. Then you have Coimbatore, which is like the financial or the business capital. You have the maximum number of manufacturing industries, textile industries, Coimbatore, Tirupur, the western part. That is, it's a city known for its entrepreneurship. You know, a lot of businessmen and industrialists come from Coimbatore, which is on the western side of Tamil Nadu, very close to the Tamil Nadu-Kerala border. The southern part of Tamil Nadu is where Madurai is, and Madurai is home to the famous Madurai Meenakshi temple, a magnificent temple. And Madurai is known to be the cultural capital of Tamil Nadu. I want students who are not from Tamil Nadu to be familiar with these kind of cities and centers of Tamil Nadu, right? So Kannagi and Kovalan, they traveled to Madurai, which was the capital of the Pandya kingdom. Okay, I just now showed you the Pandyas ruled in the southern part of Tamil Nadu. Okay, now Kannagi, what she did was she gave Kovalan one of her anklets that you go and sell the anklet, and with the money we can actually start a fresh life, a new life here in Madurai. But there, when he went to sell it, he was accused of having stolen the anklet. Nobody believed that it belonged to his wife Kannagi, and thereafter he was executed, killed by the Pandya king who ruled over there. Kannagi was extremely angry and upset, and she decided to prove her innocence by displaying the second anklet, because she has given only one anklet on one foot, right? The second anklet on her ankle, she took it out and said that, look at this, this is the second anklet that I have, right? Which means my husband was not a thief and you wrongly killed him. You know, you got him executed in a wrong way. The king, the Pandya king, he realized his mistake, that what a blunder he had made by killing an innocent man, and he died of shock. Kannagi was still angry. She cursed the city of Madurai. She invoked the god of fire, Agni Devta, and the city of Madurai was completely burnt down. You know, that was the anger of Kannagi. And then she went to in the western direction. Who was ruling in the western direction? The Cheras were ruling in the western direction, and there she was honored as a goddess for what she had done in Madurai. And even today, Kannagi is actually worshipped as a goddess in both Tamil Nadu as well as in Kerala. So the poetry that describes this entire story of Kannagi and Kovalan is basically highlighting what? It highlights the theme of justice, you know, that what the Pandya king did was not the right thing. It was not lawful, it was not just, and therefore he did not follow the Raj Dharma to protect somebody, right, who was actually innocent, which is why they say whoever is ruling over a state or the country always needs to follow the Raj Dharma. In this case, he failed to uphold it. And it also, the entire poetry also takes us through different cities which were, you know, doing trade, through different kingdoms and different schools of thought. So that's why this entire story of Kannagi and Kovalan is extremely important, right? This is the statue of King Karikala in Tamil Nadu, right? So you see him with a lot of splendor. He's sitting on a regal elephant. The elephant is well decorated, and he's having some kind of a seat, some kind of a throne on which he sat on the temple, right? So let me go back to the notes. Okay, so I have said all this. So Karikala undertook many projects, including the Kalanai or the Grand Anicut, which is still very, very popular. It is a water diversion system on the Kaveri River. The Kaveri River, if you know, it starts from Karnataka. Okay, Karnataka is the upper riparian state, and from Karnataka, it comes into Tamil Nadu, and it flows through different parts of Tamil Nadu, and it is very important for the rice cultivation, paddy cultivation in Tamil Nadu. So what this king did was to make this water diversion system on the Kaveri River in order to ensure that water was sent to the southern and the central part. For example, Tanjavur is the central part of Tamil Nadu, right? Trichy, etc. is in the slightly central southern part, not exactly yeah, you can say central southern, right? And so that there is more area which comes under cultivation, and that's what it managed to do. That area was known as the rice bowl of the southern part of India, and it is still in use today. So you realize that history has relevance even today, right? Let's now move to the Cheras. The Cheras were also known as Kerala Putra because their rule extended from the western part of modern day Tamil Nadu to what is also today's Kerala, right? So that's why they are known as Kerala Putra. They ruled over the western parts of Tamil Nadu, as I just now said, and Kerala, and their capital was in a place called Vanji, which is present day Karur, which is again in the western part of Tamil Nadu. Karur is in the western part of Tamil Nadu, right? So this is important. What kind of culture did they follow? They again played a role in the region's cultural and economic history. They encouraged Tamil literature, and they also encouraged and patronized a lot of Sangam literature poets. What was the trade? The trade was known for its extensive trade connections with the Roman Empire and West Asia. So because it was on the Kerala coast, it was able to do trade with Rome and other countries in the western part of Asia. And because it controlled Kerala, which is known as a land of ivory, it is known as a land of elephants, it is known as a land of spices, right? So export of spices, timber, because a lot of forest area in Kerala, ivory and pearls. Students from Kerala, raise your hands and mark your attendance. I am also from Kerala, from Palakkad in Kerala. Okay, I was born in Palakkad, though I mean I've lived there also, but I mean I didn't do my schooling etc. in Kerala. Issued a number of coins. The third kingdom is that of the Pandyas, who ruled in the southern part of Tamil Nadu, modern day Tamil Nadu, with their capital was in present day Madurai. Now, Megasthenes, about who we studied in the previous chapter, in his book Indika, he mentions the kingdom of Pandyas as a very prosperous kingdom with a strong administration and active trade with connections with the Greeks and the Romans. They were known for their pearls, which was an important article of trade. They had lot of ships, so therefore they were an important naval power. Culture, they contributed to art, architecture, and that seems to be a trend among all the kingdoms which came up after the Mauryas, after the decline of the Mauryas. During this age of reorganization, they seem to have focused a lot on art, culture, architecture, literature, etc. Right? And the kings, the Pandya kings, they kind of were worried about the welfare of their people, except for that mistake that he made with Kovalan. Right? Now, let's now move to the next part, which is about the invasions by the foreign king dynasties. These four of them, the southern part, that is 3, and the first 3. So total 6 Indian dynasties. Now we will learn about people who came from outside, because India was known as a very prosperous land. So that obviously tempted rulers from other countries to come and conquer parts of India. So the first one were the Indo-Greeks. Now, these were the regional rulers who established the independent domains after Alexander's retreat. Alexander, who died at the age of 32, after he went back, there are a lot of these satraps who started asserting themselves independently as independent kings. So they were the Indo-Greeks. That is, they had Greek connection, but they were also Indian in some way. Now, how did they arrive? I already told you in the previous video that the northwestern part of the Mauryan Empire was now a bit weak. It was vulnerable to attacks from outside. So these people targeted the northwestern region, which is essentially today's Afghanistan and present-day Pakistan. After the decline of the Mauryas, what kind of cultural interaction took place? Now, while conquerors, they were obviously influenced by the local culture, because when you attack, you interact with local people. So there is some kind of a mingling of the foreign and the local culture. And that's why they are known as the Indo-Greeks. There was a blending, coming together of Greek and Indian culture. It could be in art, it could be in literature, it could be in culture, it could be in language, it could be in matters of governance, right? Everything. So a very important element of this proof, evidence of this is the Heliodorus pillar, which is near Vidisha in Madhya Pradesh. If I'm not wrong, the former Chief Minister of Madhya Pradesh, Shivraj Singh Chauhan, who is now the Agriculture Minister at the center, his parliamentary constituency, to the best of my knowledge, is Vidisha in Madhya Pradesh, right? Please check it. I think I'm right. He had some connection. He was elected from there. Named after an Indo-Greek ambassador, it praises Lord Krishna. Vasudeva is another name for Lord Krishna as the god of gods. What does the inscription say? Three immortal precepts. Precepts is a form of literature, when you write it on a particular stone. When practiced, lead to heaven: self-restraint, charity, and consciousness, which means that you restrain yourself. If I'm getting angry, I control myself, I restrain myself, I do not exhibit my anger. I do charity, and I'm very conscious of what is good and what is evil, what is bad, etc. So these are the immortal precepts, which if you practice that, you would actually go to heaven after you are dead. So it's almost like a bit of the Bhagavad Gita, which Lord Krishna gave to Arjuna on the battlefield in Kurukshetra. What were the coins which were found in the Indo-Greek dynasty? They were essentially found in North India. Now we are talking about the northern part of India, or rather the northwestern part of India, right? They were made of gold, silver, copper, nickel, and they often portrayed a king on one side and Greek deities, gods and goddesses on the other side. Some coins depicted Indian deities like Vasudeva, that is Krishna, and Lakshmi. Their rule ended with the invasions by the Shakas or the Indo-Scythians. Now, who were these people? They again invaded from the northwestern side, right? They came from Kazakhstan, they came from Central Asia, and they ruled from the 2nd century BCE to the 5th century BCE. In one table, my suggestion to you is that just write the dates, the century, otherwise it's not easy. If you ask me suddenly what century BC, even I will not remember. So please try to write a table so that you write it, memorize it. I mean, memorize it, isn't it? The more times you see, you'll be able to remember it. Okay, that's a request from my side. And they came after. So it was the Indo-Greeks first, then the Shakas, and then the Kushanas, right? So all of them ruled over more or less the same area, pretty much the same area. And they were in power till the Kushanas came. And the Shaka Samvat calendar was developed during this period. Now, this is important because the Samvat calendar is also used for various purposes even today, especially by astrologers and palmists, etc. Right? It is 78 years behind the Gregorian calendar, and it was adopted as the Indian national calendar in 1957. Who were the Kushanas? They were originally from Central Asia, just like the Shakas. They entered around the 2nd century CE because you see these people were they ruled from the later part of BCE to the 5th century CE, but these people started entering from the 2nd century CE. At its peak, its empire extended from Central Asia to large parts of northern India. So they were there already, and they were starting to control some parts of northwestern India also. And again, cultural intermixing, because you see what is happening now is a lot of cultural intermixing between people from India and these people from Central Asia. The main ruler that you need to remember is this person called Kanishka. Okay, he was the most powerful ruler of the Kushana dynasty, and there is a famous headless statue of him which has the Brahmi inscription Maharaja Rajadhiraja Devaputra Kanishka. That is the great king, king of kings, son of God, Kanishka. And this is there in the Mathura Government Museum. Let me show you the photograph, right? This is the Grand Aniket, right? Used for irrigation. These are the coins under the Chera kings. And this one is the pillar near Vidisha that I mentioned, the Heliodorus pillar. And this is about Krishna, who is there on a coin. And this is the, in every gazette also, what you will have is that it will also mention the this kind of a date which will be mentioned. New Delhi, Friday, August 16, 2024, Shravana 25, 1946, Shaka, right? So it will also be mentioned, the Samvat calendar thing that I spoke about, right? And this one is the headless statue of King Kanishka that is there in the Mathura Government Museum. So if any one of you is from Mathura, which is in where? Uttar Pradesh, that's where you will be able to find this headless statue, which has obviously been, broken. So you have this headless statue is kept there. The coins, they featured Kanishka on one side and Buddha or Shiva with the Nandi bull. You know the Nandi bull on which is the vehicle of Lord Shiva on the other side. So this indicated his values and priorities, which meant that he was very tolerant even about Hindu gods. It is not as though he was imposing his own religion. He encouraged art and culture, which led to many intermingling of different kinds of art and culture. Trade, same thing. The Silk Route is very important because it connected India with other parts of Asia and West. The Silk Route is where you would able to get silk. It went into China, it went into Mongolia. So different routes. The Silk Route was considered extremely important from the trade point of view during that time. The art and architecture, again, fusion of Indo and Central Asia and Greek styles. And the examples of that are the Gandhara and the Mathura schools of art. These are examples of what was propagated under Kanishka's rule. There was more human like representation. This is again something important, that gods were represented like human beings. Whatever you see today's calendars, photographs, etc., where gods are made to look like human beings, this started during this particular time. Okay. The Gandhara style again is in the western part of Punjab. Greco-Roman style mixed with Indian features. Black stitch stone was used. Lot of detailing in that, in terms of the robes, the kind of clothes the gods, etc., would be made to wear. What is the Mathura style like? That is in the Mathura region of modern day Uttar Pradesh. That was more Indian compared to the Gandhara style. Gandhara style had a lot of influence of Greek and Roman. This was more Indian in contrast. It used red sandstone. Basically, we're talking of sculpting, right? And many Indian deities like Kubera, who is the god of wealth, Lakshmi, who is the goddess of wealth. Uh, Kubera is more of the king of wealth, they say. Shiva, right, the destroyer. Buddha, Yakshas and Yakshinis. Yakshana and Yakshini, they are like, figures who come in different mythological stories. So you had, this was the style which was followed as far as the Mathura art style was concerned. So basically what it essentially means is that there was a lot of synthesis. What is the meaning of the word synthesis? Coming together, intermingling of different styles of art and culture. Hindu, Buddhist, Greek, Roman, everything got mixed up and it created a different work of art and literature and culture. And Sanskrit literature flourished during this time, and there was Mahabharata and Ramayana also was kind of written a lot during this time. So at the end of this particular chapter, what I want to highlight is that what really happened, if we have to look at in a nutshell, we have learned about different kingdoms and the culture and the art that was followed. So essentially, this is the period after the Mauryan Empire. That is something which I'm sure you know. Many small and big kingdoms came up, right? Then there were internal conflicts, and that led to reorganization. It led to intermingling. It led to synthesis. Please use these words in your answers. It will really help highlight it much better. And it entered into a dialogue of various cultures. Now, that's a very important word. Dialogue means what? That, it's almost like different cultures are speaking with each other. They're talking to each other. And that's how a new kind of culture in terms of art, in terms of sculptures, etc., came up, because everyone was looking, oh, this is how they make it. Let me copy something from there and do something mixing with my own style. That's how new styles actually came up. Dominance of Indian themes, Sanskrit literature, trade activities, both within India and outside. So basically what you need to do is like, when it was the Mauryan Empire, it was like one large Mauryan Empire. But once the Mauryan Empire disintegrated, disappeared, now what you had was, there are many, many other musicians. It's like, a big musician has left and there are lots of smaller musicians who have come up, and they were kind of creating their own brand of music. When I say music, it doesn't mean only music. I mean that everyone had their own identity in terms of art, culture, trade, the way they would do governance, everything that was very, very unique. So that with that, we come to the end. These are some of the coins of Kanishka. As I have been saying in previous videos also, I want you to look at each one of these pictures very carefully, because it's quite likely that at least some teachers in some CBSE schools could give picture-based questions. So you should be able to identify and write something about those coins. Okay, so these are some of the things that Kanishka, the coins highlighting him as a king of kings, and the other side shows Buddha in Greek uh, script. Okay, the Kushanas controlled quite a bit of it, and this is the Gandhara style where you see the Buddha being depicted like this. And these are the maps that you see. This is all what you are seeing towards the. This is all towards the left of India. So this is all the the West Asia and the Central Asia region, like Samarkand, etc., will all be coming in Central Asia. All this part near the Black Sea, etc., will be West Asia, and Rome, of course, is in Italy. That becomes Europe, right? So this is how it was there in 3 different continents, and that's what it says. Some of the trade routes of ancient world, the network marked in green shows the Silk Route connecting China. What I told you, China, Mongolia, etc., were connected with through the Silk Route. This green thing that you are seeing going from Damascus through Iran and Samarkand is all going through. That's all the Silk Route out there, right? The Silk Route, which connects all the way till China, because China again was known as a very prosperous land about which people were very curious. This is the Mathura style. This is Kubera, the god of wealth, right? Everybody, if they wanted any god who needed money, would actually borrow it from Kuber. Okay, so there are many stories which do the rounds about it, including that of Lord Venkateshwara of Tirumala Tirupati. There are lots of interesting stories about that also. Okay, so with this we come to the end of this particular chapter. Again, I said all these kind of photographs I want you to look at, and look at the captions which have been put out there. Some of them showing the death of Buddha, the Shivalanga being worshipped. Like for example, this one, this is one is showing the death of Buddha, right? And you can see that everyone else is mourning. They're all looking very sad. So this is something which is showing the demise of Lord Buddha. So these kind of photographs are important, and this is again important because it tells you in terms of a graph which were the periods. For example, this is the period in which the Shunga dynasty ruled, right? This is when the Shunga came assassinating the last emperor of the Maurya empire, right? This is the Chedis, this is Kharavela, this is Gautami Putra Satakarni of the Satavahana empire, this is Kanishka, and this is Karikala. So you are having different empires being put as a graph. As I said, make a table, put the century thing so that it becomes easier for you to identify. Okay, and you are seeing the Indo-Greeks, the Shakas, the Satavahanas, everything is mentioned out here. So with this, we come to the end of this chapter, the Age of Reorganization. It is a slightly complicated chapter, especially video part 2. But I hope if you know the 4 major dynasties of India and the ones which came from outside, I'm sure you'll be able to do that. Please do what I told you to do in terms of making the table charts. That will really help you in being able to remember it very clearly. Okay, I'll see you now in the next video. Till the next video, take care. Tata, bye bye, namaskar, share and subscribe.